I will make a motion to return to public session. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now back in public session. Returning to our agenda, we have no unfinished business, so we'll move to approval of minutes from the regular meeting minutes of March 14th, 2023. I'll make a motion to accept those minutes. May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, corrections, or seeing none? So roll call in minutes.
Mr. Dona,
Yes.
Mr. Comfort,
Yes.
Mr. Krause,
Yes.
Ms. Ireland,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Ms. Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes. What's that? Yes, it seems short. Okay, public comments, agenda items only. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, we will open the public comments for agenda items only at this time. Each speaker should state his or her name and address. You will have 3 minutes to address the board, which will be timed by myself. We will limit this section to no longer than 45 minutes. Please be respectful and mindful that your comments are being recorded. And as typical, we have the ability to make comments here in person at the podium or virtually via our online platform, where you can submit comments to an email address that is posted there.
Yes,
And
it's posted underneath the point.
any comments already received?
Nope.
Okay. I see no comments in the room. May I have a motion to close public comments?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move on to presentations. First presentation is the public hearing on the final 2023-2024 budget. Dr. Scott Ripley will facilitate that presentation.
Good evening. So, as you all know, this is, I think, year 6 of the originally anticipated 7, even though I think they started it out. So ultimately, it was an 8-year state aid reduction as the state decided to fund from the 2007, what was referred to as S2, an algorithm of which no one knows, and it's never been revealed in spite of Oprah requests, also accompanied by this board. So we have had to endure several $million state aid reductions as we've spoken. And we had a strategic plan to manage that. And that was to do the best that we could to maintain the integrity of staffing and programs for students so that the state aid reductions had as limited an impact on our kids as possible. And the major component of what impacts kids is a dedicated professional educator in front of the classroom. And we've done everything we could to maintain that. As a matter of fact, we've been quite successful, and we've not had to reduce staff against our will. The staff that has been reduced, which is how we've managed all the state aid reductions, is through attrition retirements and not replacing those individuals. The reason I bring this up is because this particular budget, as we will see on the second slide, is an increase of the state of the tax levy by 1.75%, not 2%. And I'll get into that in a second as to why. However, the reason I bring up the staffing is, given what we've seen throughout the country and throughout the area and in our own district, the mental health concerns that we have for our students and our staff demand that we allocate funds to support this. So in this budget, we have increased our guidance and our counseling services so as to focus and purpose monies in this area to deal with what has become an acute issue, with which I'm sure you're all aware. All right, and furthermore, in this particular budget, we are beginning to be in a position where the retiring staff members will be replaced now. Effectively, we've so far weathered the storm, if you will, of the 7+ year state aid reductions. There's a lot of reasons for that, but we're very pleased to have done that without tearing down the product of the High Point curriculum and staff that we believe is so strong. So we're very proud of that. We're very pleased with that. As you see written down there is the number of the areas of which we're trying to maintain, and a 1.75% increase is what we believe is appropriate. The next slide is the breakdown in a pie chart. As you can see, what is the largest is obviously benefits and salaries, which it is every year. Salaries and benefits combined generally fluctuate between a low of 65 to a high of about 72, 73% over the years. All right, so we're pleased that it's down to 68. I think that that is reflective of the fact that we have had many staff members, senior staff members retiring and not replacing them or replacing them with people who are less senior. But I also want to address some of the other things in this pie chart. The salaries this year, that year over year increased by $334,000. The benefits increased by $95,000 for a total fixed cost increase here that we see of 68% of $430,000. Furthermore, you can see that we have 9% on transportation. This is a significant expenditure, right? Many districts who are walking districts don't deal with this. I don't believe that Newton deals with this, right? There are many districts around the state that don't deal with transportation. And when the state states that they give us money to make up for that, it is a fraction of the millions that we have to spend to transport our students in the largest sending district or the largest area school district in the state. All right? I want to point out here this blue, increase in cap reserve. So at the end of last year, we end up with what's referred to as fund balance. I'll get into more of that in a minute. But much of that fund balance we're allocating to capital reserve. What capital reserve is what the board does, what we do to maintain an amount of money so as to maintain the facilities. So if we end the year with money left over, which every district does every year, we allocate that to fund balance to fund the next year's budget, capital reserve, or maintenance reserve. So this year, believe it or not, we have $612,000, I think, going into capital reserve, which will bring our capital reserve up to $1.81 million, which I think is very good and demonstrates stewardship of the board and the BA to be able to get us to a point to have a capital reserve so as to maintain the facilities, so as to address HVAC and roof issues and parking driveway issues, of all of which we've been discussing, right? In education, anytime you do any capital reserve, the cost is so exorbitant that it takes your breath away. And so we must be good stewards of the facility that was left to us, and it is a source of pride to the community because it is so well maintained and it is so beautiful. The other area is maintenance reserve, of which we have about $360,000 in maintenance reserve. That is for any issues that arise during the year, and it's far less restrictive than capital reserve. To use capital reserve money, you must have that particular project in your long-range facility plan. So for us to utilize fund balance from last year to put that money 3%, which is not insignificant, as I just said, $612,000 in cap reserve is a significant amount. But I want to also remind you that this money was fund balance from last year. It does not affect the tax levy. All right. Next slide. Budgeted appropriations. This means what are we spending? Right, Jim?
Yes, the revenue equals the expenses. You could say appropriations or expenses.
Right, okay. That's like accounting terms. Maybe that's like accounting 101, I wouldn't know.
Yes.
All right, so as you can see, our budget here, we have Fund 11, Fund 12. There is the $611 $100,000 that I mentioned going into capital reserve, and that our the year over year we're increasing spending by 1%. However, that doesn't tell the whole story, because special revenue, which is federal grants, IDEA, ESSER, Perkins, federal grants, we anticipate being reduced by 15%, so as to reduce us by over $500,000, thereby reducing our appropriations or our spending and our total budget to $24 million, which is a reduction year over year of 1.32%. What I'm trying to state here is, in fact, in spite of the state's reduction of our state aid and the fixed costs going up, we're still cutting our spending. Unfortunately, that does not impact the tax levy because of the state aid reductions. All right, next. Budgeted revenues. Again, the tax levy on the top. As you can see, we're increasing it by 1.75%. One of the reasons why we went to 1.75% is we anticipated a larger state aid reduction than we received. Initially, we received about $55,000, and then subsequent to that, the state reassessed S2 somehow, which is their formula, which is a mystery, and reimbursed many districts with money that was initially reduced, which is rather curious, and I wouldn't bring this up in my own county meeting because I know a lot of districts are very pleased that they did this, and I'm not begrudging anyone, but let me say this, that because the state is awash in ESSER funds, it doesn't look manageable for the state to have all their coffers full of federal dollars and still be reducing school districts the way that they had so as to fund S2, which is, I understand that. However, it's arbitrary and capricious to do it this particular year when High Point has received the bulk of their cuts formerly. So this year we lose $54,000 and they reimburse 60% of it. Well, thank you. We're very pleased to have gotten 60%, but this didn't happen when they were cutting us by $900,000. So we had to absorb that without any extra federal funds coming our way. I'm just bringing this up because it's not brought up anywhere else. And I don't bring it up in my county meeting because somebody might be disappointed that I'm referencing them. And I'm not begrudging any other district, but I just think it's arbitrary and capricious of the state to do that this year. And I'm glad that other schools got it. But we had to endure the acute cuts of $900,000 without them coming to our assistance. All right, as you can see, again, 1.75%. As you get the revenues, this is where we get all the money. Here's the budgeted fund balance to which I made reference earlier. $612,000 to capital reserve. The rest, there's more fund balance, as you can see. $1 million is what we ended up with at the end of last year. You could say, well, that's a lot, and it is a little more than normal. We end up sometimes anywhere as low as $200,000 to anywhere to high, since I've been superintendent, or even director of curriculum, as high as $1.6 million. Which I think is high, and I've always wanted to keep it low because I don't want the community to think we're overtaxing them. So what happens is we end up with fund balance of over a million, but the 612 goes to capital reserve, but the remaining 405,000 is funding this budget, right? So those fixed costs about which I mentioned earlier, salaries and benefits, basically is a push from what we ended up as fund balance, money left over from last year. We can now utilize that to fund this budget, which is effectively a push on the fixed costs of salaries and benefits. All right, you can see school choice, miscellaneous aid, and there's the state aid reduction of $51,000, which is negligible, negative 1.4%. And it is anticipated that next year, the last year of funding to S2, this is the algorithm that they brought back from 2007, we do not anticipate a significant cut next year, which is good, which means we've hopefully weathered the storm without having to deconstruct our programs, which is we're very pleased with, and we're very proud of, by the way, for the board to have been able to endure that without deconstructing and separating from our most valued allocation of funds, which is our teachers. All right, and our purchase orders, we are not funding any purchase orders year over year, and as we can see there, the general fund budget being reduced, the overall budget being reduced by 1.32%. All right, here is the impact on the taxpayer. As you can see, you can look at your own township or municipality. You see that the increase in the tax levy is $301,000, and that's going to be spread as you see there. This is based upon, as we've discussed in the past, an overall assessment of the land property values of that particular township. It's also based upon the number of students that each township spends to High Point. So there's a formula that we'll get into a little bit more. I'm not going to explain the formula because I don't understand it. But the point is that it's based upon the valuation of the township relative to how many students that you send to High Point. And so you can see, if you're living in Frankfurt, you're like, wow, that's a little more than everybody else. If you live in Wantage, cool, it's going down, right? Let's move forward. We put this up here to give context as to the last several years over what we've done with the budget. How we see in the last several years, the state aid was 4.8 million, now it's 3.4, a reduction of almost 33%, almost 1.5 million, just over this. There are state aid reductions precede the 2021 school year, but we just did the last 3 budgets. As you can see, the tax levy, we went 2%, 2%, 1.75 for 5.75%. There were also, finally, the general fund. Over the last 3 years, we have reduced our overall budget by $84,000, in spite of the state aid reductions and the increasing fixed costs, which is very difficult. And if the state aid reductions continued at their former rate, we would be having a different conversation. All right, next. Municipalities' estimated equalization values. What this means is, this is what the overall value is of the property in each township. Obviously, Wantage being the largest, 1.4 billion. So this is relevant so as to determine how much each municipality will contribute to providing for the tax levy. Obviously, we're all living high on the hog because our valuations are increasing so significantly. I'm sure you felt that individually as taxpayers. I'm using sarcasm. All right, moving along. I'm almost done. Now here's an, I didn't move that along. Oh, there we go. So here's an estimate on $200,000 home based upon the data we just discussed. The amount of valuation of the township relative to the number of students that each municipality is sending. So we can see here that only Sussex, sorry Mr. Klein, is going to see an increase. We anticipate, this is an estimation. So anyone who may be watching this or sitting here and say, well, what happened? This wasn't right. Please understand this is an estimate based upon October 2022 valuation data that may change. Also, the number of students sent to High Point may also change, thereby adjusting these numbers slightly. But we feel confident enough that this at least paints the picture of what each municipality will be seeing. So if you live in Branchville, you're going to be, all right, it's dropping. I like that. Same with Lafayette and Wantage as well. All right. That is the impact on the taxpayer. Gives you a general idea of the allocation of the budget. Again, I want to state that it has been a very difficult 7-year process to get where we are now, and to be able to present a budget such as this with a 1.75% tax levy while still maintaining the integrity of our facilities, our staffing, and our programs is something about which I am very proud, and I'm hopeful that the board is very proud with the fiscal 2024 budget. Any questions? Thanks.
Thank you, Doctor. The next presentation we had up was our student council rep, but she was unable to make it this evening, so Following that is the HPA, Ms. Mancuso.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
How are we doing? Sorry, I haven't been here in a bit, besides the weather and everything else that goes on in life. Before I start, I would like to thank Mr. Talabay and Mr. Rice for a very successful, smooth as could be evacuation drill. Didn't lose anybody. Everybody came back. It was a little chilly, but it was nice. Thanks, guys.
Was it snowing?
At least it wasn't snow.
I want to thank the teachers and the staff for the exceptional manner in which they ran the event as well. Without them, it would not have been the seamless executed plan that it was, so that we're very thankful and appreciative of that.
I'll pass that on. We had a HPA union meeting, so I am not speaking for myself, I'll be speaking for the teachers that were present. They wanted me to express their concerns, and number one was about the excessive vaping in the student bathrooms. Number two, students roaming halls before 7:25 in the morning. You'll get a list of this, I made your packets. Number three, academic integrity of students' work. 4, excessive vulgar language in the hallways. 5, freedom during unit lunch promotes unsafe environment for staff and students. 6, inequity and availability of student field trips. It seems to be the same group of students going on trips. 7, inequity in education, special education, pull-out students do not have labs. We also have Board of Education policy concerns that appear on our websites but are no longer relevant since they're not relevant. And I have them listed here and they're also in here if you would peruse. I color-coded, being a special ed teacher. Everyone will get our contract, which is done in June 30th, 2024. The list I just read you in the policy. And thank you for your service. Choose your color. You can't choose your color. It's random.
I'll take the I got it. I just take
No favorites. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mancuso. Next presentation, our principal's report and athletics report, Mr. John Donovan.
Good evening, everyone. How are we doing today? I apologize, stressed out a little bit. We were working with some parents and students for our program, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And also, like to echo, as Mr. said, we had a off-site evacuation unification drill last week on Tuesday. Kudos to Mr. Rice, who's standing behind me, was leading and coordinating this. Kudos to the teachers as well for coordinating that, and as well as our partners in the community, particularly the state police, sheriff's office, Micers at the fairgrounds, EMS, and many others in between that helped us pull off the successful drill. And our goal is to look at a rotation every 4 years or so. We make sure we can cycle through that. It is a large logistical challenge, to say the least, but it's really important. We believe it to be really important, as well as our regular drills that are rerun on a regular basis. So a lot of positive feedback from that, with the communication from the parents, and appreciation and understanding from the parents as well. So we're appreciative of that. Student council, some things that Lindsay, Ms. Lindsay O'Donnell could not be here this evening, so she asked me to pass on as well. Student council for April is honesty and fairness. That's our initiative, and that's their initiative, and that's been their focus throughout. April's a little disjointed because of a spring break in the middle there. That has been their focus, and many of our clubs are working around that concept and those character ideals as well. Can't go any further without saying thank you to Mrs. Imhoff, and she has been a tremendous asset to us. This year we've been planning pretty much since the fall, the Every 15 Minutes program, which is the shirt that I'm wearing, which is the program that we started today. For those of you that are not familiar with that, I know the parents that are here got some information that was shared out to them about the program. It's basically a national initiative, and it's a 3-stage program. Today, we had students that are pulled out of class every 15 minutes because that serves as a reminder every 15 minutes somebody across the country, a teenager, is lost in a substance-related accident still. And this is still continuing to rise. So we have students that are pulled out of class that represents that loss, and those students actually have their obituary read in class, and the students come back and they are unable to participate in the regular activities for the day. So that went on for the morning. Then we had a kind of resumption of regular schedule, and then we had a mock accident with our community partners right here on the senior parking lot, and all of our juniors and seniors came out on the hillside and watched that mock accident unfold. Our own students were in the vehicles. The last time we did this was 2016. We did the full program. 2020, we were planning, myself and I were planning to do the program again in March, and then the world changed a little bit and stopped those things. So we're appreciative to get back to that, particularly to St. Clair's. We have Dean Snook, Deb Pagliaro, or the key coordinators. Dean is a High Point graduate and is a very proud member of the community that continues to push this great, powerful program. Without them, we would not be able to do it. They're here now still. We started at 6:30 this morning, and we're still going. And the kids are still going, and Mr. Muff is still going. It's a long program for that part of it. The mock accident unfolded, again, EMS, fire trucks, state police, live on scene, full extrication of the individuals out of the vehicle safely, obviously. All the parents were aware of that, and it's a pretty powerful scene. So you could hear a pin drop with 400 students sitting there watching that program, and then the students were taken away. And then there was a hospital scene where the one student that was severely injured was in the hospital, and the parent went there, and they filmed that part of it. And then there was unfortunately a student that was lost, and represented that lost student as well. The drunk driver was arrested on scene and taken by the state police back here to our holding facility, where we were able to process that. That was all filmed as well. Our media tech program, Mr. Fenlon and our media tech students, shout out to Ms. Nasrabaka and Kate King, because they are senior leaders that pretty much ran the whole entire scene and did all the filming and kind of coordinated all the key players. So they actually are working right now in the media tech room, finishing up the editing of the program. And then the last stage is tomorrow morning. We'll have all the juniors and seniors back into the auditorium, and we'll watch the video together from start to finish, classroom presence, mock accident, and then some of tonight's footage, and it will be all one aspect. Some of your parents may have seen that. That was the old movie that we did in 2016, but a very, very powerful testimony, not only to the student program that is run, but it really is amazing to sit there. You know, I was a blubbering mess as a parent that now has a student driving. It's very different than as a parent, and when you see hear those sirens, and we have the parents that are involved, it's a pretty powerful statement. The parents that lost the student today had to come down to the accident scene. And you want to talk about power, something that everyone had to have anybody participated in. The parents are in one part of the building right now, and the students are in another. Thank you for your flexibility as we kind of reversed and went here and then came back around, just so we saw the students walking down the hall with stuff. We were going back to another location, and now we do a letter writing aspect of it. So their final stage tonight, what they're working on right now, is they write letters. Things they would like to say to their parents that they didn't, because they're no longer here, and the parents do the same. So it's a pretty powerful thing. We had a parent meeting several weeks ago and talked to the parents about what that is, and if students aren't able to do that, parents are able to do that, we understand. But now that's what they're working on now, and that will be part of tomorrow morning's program, where we'll read those letters, and students will get a chance to hear them as well. So every 15 minutes is a national program, but again, huge thanks to Jess and Imhoff for her leadership there. I'm just going to run through some other events. Our junior prom is coming up. Mayhem is upon us, as we say. And Mr. Doe knows that in the school. It's a little bit nuts, right? And all those things that are going on usually in the school. So May 18th is the junior prom at Corner Farms, 6 o'clock. So we're looking forward to that. That is a half-day schedule. In addition, we have our 8th grade picnic on the 25th. 8th grade picnic itself on the 25th, which is, again, we bring all the 8th graders up. Trying to do a couple different things this year that we haven't done in the past. We're going to try some new things with that, with more clubs in athletics. And they're here for a few hours. We do feed them lunch. They get a chance to be together as a class. This is really like the third time, because they're here for the tours. They're here for 8th grade open house. If they want to come with their parents, they're here now again. And then the fourth time will be the final stage, will be the 9th grade orientation. So they get a chance to be together as a class, versus just being kind of dumped in on that first day on September. We also are looking forward to a couple key events. Military Activity Day on the 24th of May, the Senior Scholarship Dinner. Many of you have been part of that before, either as a parent or a board member. Instead, it's welcome for you to all attend. I believe it's one of our best community moments of the school year. That's also on the 24th. That is at the Red Tail Lodge at 6 o'clock. Red Tail Lodge over by Crystal Springs. And again, it's a chance to honor our students for who they are, what they do every single day, in a way that they get recognized with obviously monetary awards. And we're just blessed every single year to have that amount of support from our community members, some new ones even this year, new scholarships, and some that have been doing it for 12 or 13 years that the program's been running. And there's $80,000, $90,000 that are given to our students for a variety of reasons through the course of that time. So that's on the 24th, and again, welcome to the information about that. You can reach out to Dr. Ripley or any one of us, and we can look at that as well. And then the final thing this week, April 27th, is our Honor Society induction ceremony, which is what we worked on the last couple of years, a combined Honor Society program instead of a standalone, because there are some sub-Honor Societies, so we're doing a combined event again. Helpful for the parents and students as well. Instead of having 4 or 5 ceremonies to go to in April and May, to have 1 or 2. And that's helpful because everybody, as you know, is busy. A couple of student accomplishments I'd like to highlight. Congratulations to our art students who seem to be every month getting a new award for something different, which is really awesome. This month, in the last week or so, the AENJ, which is the Art Educators of New Jersey, NJ PAC exhibit, which is down in Newark. Actually, there's 6 students that their work was chosen. Isabella Brino, Maya Mignon, Sarah Diaz, Sophie Scotch, Caitlin Paus, and Riley Joseph. I met with the students this week and talked a little bit about their artwork. It's artwork that's behind you as well. And they talked a little bit about the why behind the artwork and what they designed, and kind of their story that they wanted to tell with this. So it's pretty cool to hear. One did a piece on Harriet Tubman. One did a piece about renewal, life renewal, and showed a little bit of like some spring renewal. That is kind of the themes that they're trying to work on, more of a social justice aspect of it. Continue on our student recognition. Amelia Race, who's actually also over in our program working on the Every 15 Minutes, was all Eastern treble course. Very few select students get selected for that. She was also the All-State last month that we talked about, and now she's all Eastern. She got a chance to go up to Massachusetts and meet with students from all over the Eastern Seaboard and participate in activities, and she said that was a fantastic experience for her, not just because she got to work with some of the best in music, but also because of the experience of meeting new people, right, and other students from other schools. Joelle Morales, Lindsay Erlano, who's I know here this evening, Lauren Reese and Isis Garrison, all just returned on late Sunday night with Mrs. Jackney because they were chosen to do a national presentation for SAVE. And that presentation came out of Joelle Morales, who we talked about before, is the National Advisory Board for the Sandy Hook Promise. There's only about 30 students across the country that are on that board, and Joelle is one of them. And their project that the SAVE group, our SAVE, which is Students Against Violence Everywhere, chose was a community poem, where everybody had a chance to submit some words to community poem, and they put that all together. Well, they were asked to present that poem at the national conference. So the 4 of them went, Ms. Jackney took them out there. Kudos to her for leading that program all the way through and taking them out there and experiencing that. And they said that they were exhausted and tired, but a really great experience to see them again, get a chance to be in front of a national stage, network with other students and meet other people as well. And wouldn't surprise you, but 3 of them are also next door working on their 15 minutes in some capacity as a media student and or as a participant. And last but certainly not least, Joelle Morales, again, you may have heard his name a couple of times. Today was recognized, he had a busy day today. Today was recognized by the Sussex County Counselors Association as a Caring Student Award. Every school gets to nominate a student for that. I believe, I couldn't go today because of the program we were running, but I believe it's one of the best awards that the county recognizes because it's not based on accolades, it's not based on merit scores. Not that they don't matter, because they do. It's based on simple things, right? Who you are, the kind student that he is, the caring student that he is, the compassionate student that he is. He resembles that every single day for us as he walks the halls and leads many different programs for us at High Point. So that is my report. So okay, I'll shift over to the athletic report.
Please.
Okay. It's going to highlight a couple things. So we had a busy month or so again with everything in between there. Spring season obviously is rocking and rolling. We've been lucky to have some good weather overall for that, which has been helpful. Scholar Athlete Banquet we had as well in the past month. That was Caitlin Paus. National Football Foundation Scholar Athlete was Max Seward. Had a chance to go down to Morristown with Max and his parents. College signings. Dr. Ripley recognized this name, Jonah Ripley, Grove City for football. Congratulations to Dr. Ripley and Jonah for that, which is an awesome opportunity for Jonah. Carney Weibel for East Stroudsburg for wrestling also was, and we have a couple that are pending in the queue, as we say, and will be recognized at our next month meeting. Hall of Fame Banquet and Awards. Mr. Dexter does a tremendous job with that coordination. We started that back up years ago. It's a fantastic, again, community event where kids get a chance to be together with each other, and it's the end of season awards banquet as well as a Hall of Fame banquet. It's a lot of moving parts and a lot of people, It's at Lafayette House on June 1st, but it's a chance for our current student athletes to sit with the honorees for the Hall of Fame. And they get a chance to hear their story, right, and what they're about, and why they're recognized, why they're inducted, and they also get a chance to hear the student story. So it's pretty cool to watch at the end when you see somebody that was inducted, last year we had somebody from the class of 1978, whatever it may be, talking to one of our current students about the tradition of High Point and High Point athletics and how important that is. So that's a really neat thing, and that's at the Lafayette House at 6 o'clock. The inductees for this year are some names you may recognize: Billy Smith, who we are proud to have as a current staff member here as a teacher and coach and most important mentor for our students, class of 2011. Nick Frankavilla, class of 2011. Drew Wagenhofer, class of 2011, recognize the team here. Ethan Orr, class of 2011, and Jessica Graham, class of 2007. So those are our honorees and our inductees for this year. And last, but certainly not least, we also have the NJSIA Scholar Athlete, which is a little bit different than the Sussex County Scholar Athlete. That's down at Pines Manor, and that's going to be on May 21st. That's Max Miller, who was our nomination for High Point, Max Miller. Certainly last but not least, Mr. Ellis, Coach Ellis, achieved his 100th win as a coach last week, and that was a big milestone for any coach. We know we celebrated 400 wins for Coach Gardner in the past, and that's an unbelievable milestone. So kudos to the baseball program, and they had a successful trip to Florida as well, and a nice time down there. That's a run through. I know I talked fast. Any questions that you may have?
Is that video going to be available for?
Thank you, Mr. Glad you reminded me. Right there, good, thank you. That was in my notes, but I forgot. So the video is going to be shared out once we are all done. So after tomorrow, and after the students get a chance to see it in the morning, we'll probably share it out either tomorrow afternoon or the next day. Yep, once it's completed out to the parents so they can see it.
Via the website or through Facebook or?
I'm probably gonna, so this is the focus for 11th and 12th graders, so we try to maintain that. Obviously, board members can have, full view of that, but the idea behind that is we want to cycle every 2 years and do a program again. So we'll probably share it directly out to the 11th, 12th grade parents, and we can, that's probably the easiest way. So you can get the link just like we got in the other letter, and then you can view it on your own time.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for reminding me that. Okay. Yes, Doctor.
I was remiss in not thanking the two individuals who were most responsible for the planning and execution of our off-site evacuation drill. Mr. Talmay and Mr. Rice, both of whom are as good as likely any other district could boast, and are overwhelmingly well prepared. And it was seamless with military precision, and it's due because of the effort and professionalism of those two individuals.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to speak back over, so, okay.
And our final presentation for the evening is curriculum instruction, Mr. Shane.
We didn't make good, so we already won the prize for brevity tonight, but I got a shot in second place. So, fingers crossed.
Actions.
You don't talk quickly.
Okay. Wow. Something rotten. It was unbelievable. Hats off to our students and to Mrs. Teresa Riccardi. Fantastic. And many of our staff members were in the performance as well. On the agenda tonight is a request to approve our third summer academy. We're very proud of this program. It's fun. The students show up, they get in the bus, they come here, they earn credit, they do a lot of meaningful things, and it's been quite successful. We have an estimate. It's based upon how many students participate, etc., and it is entirely grant funded. So the grants we spoke about, or I spoke about at last month's meeting, are dedicated for summer and extended school day, etc. So the entire program is funded by those federal grants. So we're looking forward to another successful program. 3 weeks from today, we have our traditional state testing. There will be less state testing next year. The state has promised they will reduce it. This year we had Start Strong in September, NJGPA in March, and now NJSLA in May. They said no more Start Strong. They are reducing it. We're hopeful that they follow through on that. Freshmen will test in English and math. Juniors will take a science assessment, and it's going to be an interesting week. We have a half day on Thursday for the prom, but that Tuesday and Wednesday, our seniors come in with the delayed opening, so it's a nice break for them. It's a bit of a tradition. Our sophomores have an enrichment activity. A lot of moving parts there, and that will be testing for freshmen and juniors 3 weeks from today. See, we're moving fast here, moving fast. On Tuesday, AP testing. Thank you to our entire staff. The success of the AP program isn't just the 27 AP teachers, but all of our staff that prepare students to reach for a high, challenging, rigorous curriculum. Ms. Jacqueline McCarthy oversees AP testing. I want to thank her for her work. 37%, I believe this is a number that is indicative of the school's ambition, and I'm very proud of the fact that this number is as high as it is. A lot of tests, a lot of work. The students and the teachers put a lot into it, and that will kick off on Tuesday. Main part of the presentation, it's required that we report this, but it's 69 pages long with a size 3 font, and the amount of details in it could take you a week. So,
You've got 30 seconds.
very important, very important. Transparency. Not only is our performance report available online, but anyone who wishes can go on and view the identical report for every school in the state. It's easy to read, it's incredibly detailed. It covers everything from how many students, how many teachers, how many of your teachers have a master's degree, how many administrators are retained year over year. It's an incredible amount of data, and we look at a great deal of it, and here's a little bit of a snapshot. Each year when we do the report, we create something that says, now, inconclusive, positive, needs improvement. Our one area last year targeted for improvement was to increase SAT participation. It nearly doubled, so thank you to our guidance counselors for pushing that. We went from 29% to 50%, 29% being the result of the pandemic, but 50% more in line with what we're used to. This is still difficult to have meaning because the most important thing, I believe, we believe as a school, is our own growth year to year. And the primary instrument for measuring that are our state assessments that took place last year, but had been canceled the previous 2 years. So you don't have, you see the beige blank spots there. That's our federal accountability. Not how well you did, but how much did you improve. And that data, or that metric, is still unavailable. There are 3 assessments our students took. English 9, Algebra 1, and Geometry, a few students, and juniors in the science assessment. We are not pleased with our results. We're pleased with some of them. We're not satisfied with them. We believe that our performance on this report needs to improve, and we're committed to improving it. In English 9, keep in mind, we're in 9 to 12 districts. So we receive these students in September, we test them in April or May. It is clearly indicative of us. They're our students, it's our assessment, but it's not a lot of time for us to have ownership over shaping their success. ELA, pretty close to the state average. Transparency, this is online. It lists every economic, disability, racial group, and how they did across the board. It would take a long time to go into that for every metric. There's no assessment that's harder to break down than Algebra 1 because so many students take Algebra 1 in 8th grade. So if you look at Vernon's district-wide average Algebra 1 score, it represents all their students. When you look at High Points, Walk Hills, Lenape's, and those 3, because Kittatinny is part of the high school. But the 3 high schools, it's very difficult because the top 10 or 20 or 30% of the students take the test in 8th grade. So they count for Sparta and Vernon, but they don't appear as Algebra 1 testers for us. So our results are after we exclude our best and brightest. Nonetheless, we want to see that improve. Okay? we want to be the best in the region and well above state average. And so we're focused on improvement. Geometry, we're quite pleased. 68%, way above the state average, and one of the highest percentage rates in the county, which you'll see in a minute. So nice job to our geometry teachers. They did an exceptional job on that. Statewide, there is still very little buy-in on the science assessment. There's not a huge difference between the state average, High Point's average, and the performance of other districts. It's static at 22 to 28%, which for some reason, maybe it's because students are over tests and they get this as a junior, and I'm not sure. But statewide, we're grappling with how do we get meaning out of this assessment that is not embraced to the degree that other assessments are. My favorite part, I want to thank my administrative assistant, Ms. Jessica Briggs, because she helps crunch these numbers, and it's a lot of data. I want to see in every category where do we rank against our neighbors. Now, it's important to know, first of all, we are the 3rd largest high school in the county out of the 9 public high schools. Performance data historically is overwhelmingly correlated to one particular factor, the socioeconomic background of the district. As Mark Twain said, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. I'm not suggesting this is conclusive of everything, but this is what the report told us. It said that High Point had a higher percentage of students that come from an economically disadvantaged home than any of the 9 high schools in our county. Now, maybe a previous year, we were 3rd, etc., but we're clearly not in the, I didn't put the other high schools. I didn't want to report specifically. This is not their presentation, it's our presentation. If you want to see what schools correspond to that, it's available. However, we're not the 2, the 6, the 7. We do have a significant number of students who come from modest means, and that's significant. Students with disabilities, I'd say, were fairly average of the 9. Chronic absenteeism, last year was 10%. It doubled for High Point, but we had a school in the county that had 41%. So chronic absenteeism, as we come out of the pandemic, has skyrocketed. It doubled for us. It's a target area for improvement next year, but that's where we rank among our peers. Our graduation rate is also a targeted area. We were at 97 to 98% 4 years ago. We're at 92%. Those are really concerning. It's a concerning trend that we wanted to see reversed. A major component of Dr. Ripley's budget tonight was a significant, sizable increase in counseling supports, in intervention supports, and we wanted to target students who are at risk of not completing their high school graduation. Confirmed HIBs, I saw some schools in the county, middle schools had 0, some had 17. It's a byproduct to some degree of how you respond to that mandate. Some really positive numbers. We still lead the way in AP testing. If we have 27 courses offered, 37% of students take a test, and our SATs, not only are we near the top of the county, but this year's results, we bumped up to, our results actually went down slightly, but our scores relative to the state were 52 points higher than the state average, which is really a positive. I think we know with SATs what happened was, over the last 2 years, SAT scores went up because the number of students who took them went down. So what do you compare yourself to? The average, because that happened everywhere. And I think to bump ahead of the state average, that sizably is quite positive. This is the area we're not pleased with. We want, obviously, geometry, but we want in English 9 and Algebra 1 and Science, we want to be a bit higher. And we're targeted and focused on improving in those areas. That's our area for improvement next year. What is inconclusive? We don't have year-to-year comparisons because the test results we're looking at were preceded by 2 years without testing. what do we feel is particularly strong? SAT participation, SAT scores relative to the state average, and our geometry results. What do we want to see improve? What are we focused on? Chronic absenteeism, to go from 10% to 27% needs to be attacked. The graduation rate going from 98% to 92% needs to be attacked. And across the board, our NJSLA scores, we are optimistic that they will improve. That's that place. Now, so it is a lot of information, but what I say to the public watching and to the board, I shared this with the staff earlier today, and I'll share some more of the breakdown, is contact me if you have any question, okay? I have all these data tables and spreadsheets. I'm happy to tell, and this is a public comment to the community, please contact me if you have any questions about why a certain number is this, or why do you think this score. I reached out to Lenape today. Their math scores were exceptional, so I texted my friend Mark Florchek, congratulations Mark, he's retiring, said, how did your math scores go up so much? So one of the things we do here is we get calls from schools, and we call them, and we say, hey, you guys did a great job on this. What do you think happened? And so it's a chance for our peers locally to collaborate and try and learn from one another. So we're not out to, we want all students everywhere to succeed. We want to learn from one another, but we do compare ourselves to our neighbors, and I think that's a healthy thing. So.
Can we talk about the graduation rate again dropping
Yes.
drastically? Can you put a cause to that? Is there an 18-year-old sign-up epidemic? Is there an epidemic of kids just not wanting to finish?
There is an epidemic of students who part, and I am not a huge fan of continuing to blame things on COVID. I think as a school, culture, society, we need to continue to move away from that. However, the formative adolescent years for students to be learning from their bedroom for 2 years, and then to say, you are going to have to get out of that routine, get on the bus, come here every day, was a jolt to their adjustment. And I think that's by far the single biggest factor. We do have an increase in transiency in general. So we have a spreadsheet that we all look at. Anytime a student joins us or leaves us, we look at it closely. We do have a net gain in students who join us, but even the fact that we have so many students joining us each year is reflective of the fact that we've got a lot of students moving in and moving out. And sometimes that movement leads to students not finishing. So many times we don't know why. A student signs out from here, they say they're going to their new school in Western PA. We don't know if they ever land there and succeed. Many times these students do have a vision and a plan to work with Project Self-Sufficiency to get their GED, and they've got a really solid square-to-way plan. So these are not all students that were, many of them were purposeful and they had direction. We feel strongly that it's a life achievement that stays with you as an accomplishment, that after kindergarten through 11 and a half, etc., we really want to work with you and see you cross the finish line.
The dropout rate is not 8.7% different. There is a difference between the number who graduate and the dropout rate. They are not correlative. Can you do you know the dropout rate?
Off the top of my head, I do not. But
I think it's 2% or less.
So I believe you're referencing perhaps the fact that students leave us with a plan and the purpose to go to a different program or a different school, and they ultimately get their GED, as opposed to students who just stop showing up and we try and try and try. We've got a lot of checks along the way before we actually sign that form. We meet with the parents, we put the plans together. Our guidance department is fantastic at looking at the overall needs of individual students and coming up with flexible plans. We have students that are facing hospitalization, homelessness, trauma, and we have an incredible guidance department. I'm really, really proud of the fact that they look at every student and say, I want to keep the bar as high as we can, but reasonably within reach for a student who's gone through something really troubling. We lower the credits for many students from 135 to 120 if there are considerable extenuating circumstances. We work with students to leave half day. We do a lot to help students that are facing tough situations and still want to try and finish. But I hope that.
Yeah, you know, you don't want to blame COVID, but you have to. I mean, it's cause and effect, and I've experienced it firsthand, right? And I think, and I'm not blaming the school, I'm blaming that entire culture of how that happened. And I think you're going to see the same thing next year.
You can see until the COVID generation is out.
Right, because this is a graduating class that, so how I explain it to my friends is freshman year, I'm referring to my son, freshman year, half year into March, home. Next year, home. Third year, mask the whole year except for maybe a month. This is senior year, supposed to be your best year. It's, no offense to school, the worst year. Because they don't know how to re-socialize. And I don't know what the fix is. I really believe, and this is not, I think this is nationwide, because I talked to a lot of other people about it, but there's gotta be a way that we can, because I think that number is gonna either stay the same or it's gonna drop.
Simultaneously, we're battling, I don't want to say an epidemic, but a challenging trend of students who are younger and younger and younger and younger when they begin to spend 3 to 5 hours a day on a cell phone or a screen. So I'm not criticizing those parental choices, but this year's graduating class was likely more connected to their phone in grades 1, 2, and 3 than last year's graduating class. So we have that.
Shouldn't be a phone in school, period.
Right, but I'm just speaking about their development from when they're young.
Right. But I mean, if from when they're young, if from day one in school, kindergarten, there's no phone, then their time would be cut tremendously on that phone.
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty of students that spend probably way too much time on their phone during school.
I believe that is a safe statement.
So, I don't see what the issue, aside from maybe 50% of the parents being against it.
I think it's a societal issue that we're grappling with, and we have to hopefully get some strategies and some success on a global level, because our students, we know, are too focused on screens, and we know it's not in their best interest. So that's part of it. Part of their development is impacted by
Do you think that relates to that number as well? Or does it relate to absenteeism, possibly?
I have to say that I think being it's a blessing and a curse, right, for technology. But I do think that students struggle to forge personal connections and interactions because of the time they spend on screens. And so when they're already have that challenge in their development, and then they get hit with the pandemic, I think they're both factors.
Yeah, I'm nervous about the incoming class, even less of the social interaction. I mean, I'm a firm believer in just watching the numbers and watching the trends, so hopefully I'm wrong about next year.
On your numbers, like Algebra 1 and a couple of the other numbers there, do you do research on feeder schools?
Yes. Yep. I reviewed all 4 of our same districts today. They're kind of all over the map. It's kind of hard to break it down, but there are some schools that didn't do well and some schools that did incredibly well. And so professionally, it kind of starts a conversation. We reach out to someone and say, hey, I noticed your students struggle this year. What happened? Vice versa.
So you communicate back to the feeder schools these numbers as well?
Absolutely.
The chronic absenteeism rate, real quickly, is very difficult, in my opinion, to use as a relevant data point, because we're still encouraging kids to stay home if they have a runny nose or a fever, because we're still in that, irrespective of when COVID did or did not end, we're still encouraging kids to stay home when they manifest any of those symptoms, where in the past that was not the case. So I think that has certainly an impact on the reference to chronic absenteeism that I think mitigates the importance and relevance of that data point.
I agree, but it could be abused as well. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so how can that stop? Like,
Yeah, I
maybe,
think-
maybe it should be encouraged to stay home, just to, you know, did we ever stay home from a cold, or?
We're forced
No, it's my understanding that the White House has issued a decree that COVID is no longer, and therefore next year we will no longer advocate for students to stay home if they have a runny nose.
Anyone else have questions?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Okay, back to our agenda. No other business, we'll move on to action items, curriculum, instruction, and technology.
Okay, so 1, 2, and 3 is drawing attention to the faculty attendance. For March, 94%, student attendance for March, 93.5%, and then the suspension report, those attachments are available. Item 4, I'll move actually 4 through 11, okay? Item 4 is harassment, intimidation, and bullying report for March 14th through April 25th. There's an attachment. Number 5, curricular field trips and co-curricular field trips as listed on the attachment. Number 6, professional development activities. Number 7, the graduation date for class of 2023 is Friday, June 16th, 6 p.m. Hope to see everyone there. Number 8 is the comprehensive equity plan, which is an extension from the 2019 to 2022 plan, effective through 2024 school year. Number 9 is the acceptance of $6,600 for a grant for New Jersey Climate Change Awareness Education Grant that's going to be used for microscopes and gardening supplies for our students. Number 10 is the 2023 Summer Academy, which is a remediation and enrichment program during June, July, and August here at High Point. And number 11 is the revised 2022-23 school year calendar to reflect a half-day schedule for students on the dates as listed here. Making a motion, seeking a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Conforth.
Yes.
Mr. Caraza.
Yes.
Ms. Ireland.
Yes.
Mr. Klein.
Yes.
Ms. Schuman.
Yes.
Mr. Dona.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes. That's all of curriculum, instruction, technology. Thank you, Mr. Schuman. So now personnel, Mrs. Sedona.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to move number 1, recommendation to accept with regret the retirement notification of Janice Apgar, a bus driver. Making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? It's always sad to lose a bus driver.
Yes, Ms. Apgar's been with us for a while. Losing her will certainly we're not anxious to lose her, but we wish her nothing but the best in her well-deserved retirement and to enjoy her grandchildren, and we wish her nothing but the best.
Anyone else? Making a motion, did we say a second? No, yeah, we did. Okay, roll call, please. Sorry.
Mr. Caraza.
Yes.
Ms. Ireland.
Mrs. Ireland is
step
waiting
out.
for the
Okay.
next thing for the evening.
Got it. Mr. Klein.
Yes.
Ms. Schuman.
Yes.
Mr. Dona.
Yes.
Mr. Conforth.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Number 2, it's recommended with regret to accept with regret the retirement notification of Paulo Bastista. Did I do okay?
Paulo. Yes.
Paulo, okay, custodian, effective July 1st, 2023. Making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Again, Mr. Batista has been with us for approximately 15 years, and he has been a very kind, outgoing, pleasant person to be around, always a smile, and he will also be missed, and we will also wish him
nothing but the best in his enjoyment with his grandchildren.
I'd like to add that as well. Mr. Batista was here 15 years, and I learned that he was with Hewlett Packard for 20 years before that. And he knew plumbing, electric, masonry, carpentry, nothing he couldn't put together or fix, and we're gonna miss him.
Okay, roll call then, please.
Mr. Carrazza,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Ms. Schuman,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Mr. Comfort,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
And number 3 is recommended by the superintendent of the Board of, that the Board of Education accept with regret the retirement notification of Francis, I don't know how to say her name.
Wenzel Jewski.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Executive Administrator Assistant to the Business Administrator Payroll Benefits and Coordinator, effective July 1st, 2023. Making a motion, seeking a second. Any discussion? We're all set.
We're all set.
Can I object?
No. My vote is no.
Fran, I don't know how many board members you have seen over your
I know,
number
too
of
many.
years, or board presidents come and go. I am honored to be here while you're retiring.
Thank you.
To say goodbye to you for a,
No,
career. Well,
it's bittersweet, and thank you all for, the opportunity has been amazing, so I thank you. I still object.
Fran, it may be the longest tenured current employee at High Point.
Yeah.
Someone who, when I was a young man and started at High Point, I did not conduct myself as a man with dignity and respect, and Fran was nothing but always kind and gracious, and has forgiven me on multiple occasions over the years. I will tell you that I have great affection for her as a human being and as a professional, and I cannot imagine that a district has such an asset employed anywhere as Fran. She has been here through countless superintendents and business administrators, and she is the most gracious, kind, beautiful soul that I will personally miss, and someone who I have the utmost respect and affection for. And I will do something I've never done as superintendent in 10 years. I want to give her a standing ovation and say, well done.
Thank you all.
So you're a no stop?
Thank you.
You know that scene in Marley and Me where they're discussing Marley, the family, and it comes to the boy, and he doesn't say anything, and the mother says, "You're not going to say anything?" He goes, "He knows." So, Fran, she knows how to feel about it.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Klein,
Really?
Macaroni.
Yes.
Ms. Schuman,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Mr. Comfort,
Yes.
Mr. Carrasa,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
yes.
Thank you. Oh, damn it.
Enjoy.
Thank you, guys.
And then number 4, it's recommended that we accept with regret the retirement notification of Donna Lembo, guidance counselor, effective July 1st, 2023. Making motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
As good a guidance counselor as High Point has had in my 25 years here. Phenomenal, pleasant, works her tail off, and has been a true asset to the district, and someone with whom I was very close and had great affection for. We wish her well, and congratulations, and we will miss you very, very much.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Schuman,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Mr. Comfort,
Yes.
Mr. Carrasa,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Okay, and then I want to move items 5 through 16. It's recommended that we approve the following individuals for substitutes and for the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year as listed. Number 6, Recommendation to approve Ashley Swords as the home instructor for the remainder of the 2023 school year. Number 7, to approve Deborah Sweller as a substitute assistant transportation coordinator on an as-needed basis for the remainder of the year, as listed. Number 8, to approve Robert Misyak, I don't know how to say that.
That's good.
Misyak, oh, okay. As a school psychologist leave of absent replacement for the remainder of the school year, as listed. Number 9, to approve Faith Card as the comprehensive business teacher for the 2023-2024 school year, as listed. Number 10, to approve Candace Urbanski as comprehensive business teacher for the 2023-2024 school year, as listed. And number 11, to approve the salaries for certificated and non-certificated staff members for the 2022-23-24 school year, as listed in the attachment. Number 12, to approve, I can't say Jim's name either. Jim Mekwitz, sorry, I should have that one, as business administrator sports secretary for the 23-24 school year, as listed. Accept the resignation of Teresa Roman as the after-school detention proctor effective of April 1st, 2023. Number 14, to approve Donna Pika and Lauren Mann, currently approved substitute teachers, as after-school detention proctors effective April 17th, as listed. And number 15, to approve the extended medical leave for employee 373, as listed. And number 16, to approve Thomas Levansky as teacher of media and technology for the 2023-2024 school year, as listed. Making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Tadona?
Yes, but I'm going to abstain on number 6.
Mr. Comfort?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes. Thank you. Sonoma, Crowds, is there anything I should take those 4 action items in?
Sure. I'd like to move items 1 through 4 together. Item 1, approving the listed dates for school physicals to be performed for the 23-24 sports seasons. Number 2, recommending the approval of the volunteer coaches for the 22-23 school year as listed. Number 3, recommending the approval of Robin Jenkins and Beata Wilk as paraprofessional aides for the unified track team as listed. And item number 4, approve the boys soccer team to attend the Gettysburg team camp on the dates listed under the conditions listed. Making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Mr. Comfort?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Tadona?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes. Back to you, Mrs. Tadona, for policy items.
Okay, I'm going to move item 1. It's recommended by the superintendent, Board of Education approves to abolish the following policy and regulations. Policy 9100 about public relations, and regulation 9140, Citizens Advisory Committee. Making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Comfort?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Tadona?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes. Okay, we have no negotiations.
Oh, I didn't, I got one.
Oh, you got one more?
Sorry.
Did I
I
miss
got
it?
2, there's 2.
Oh, I apologize.
And I kind of feel like they should move separately, I don't know why, but I do. All right, number 2, I'm gonna move number 2, making a motion, seeking a second for item number 2, to approve the first reading of the following new policies and regulations. Note that they are mandated. Regulation 6115.01, federal awards funds, internal controls, allowability of costs, And policy 6115.04, federal funds duplication of benefits. Making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Mr. Khan?
Yes.
Ms. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Comforth?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Okay, and then number 3 is recommendation to approve the following revised policies and regulations. Also, most of them are mandated. Just the one maybe not. All right, so policy 5512, the HIP, the bylaw 0144, board member orientation and training, policy 2520, instructional supplies, regulation 2520, instructional supplies, policy 5305, health services personnel, policy 5308, health records, student health records, regulation 5308, health records, student health records again, policy 5310, health services, regulation 5310, health services again, policy 6112, reimbursement of federal and other grant expenditures, policy 6311, contracts for goods or services funded by Fed grants, policy 7440, school district security, policy 9140, citizens advisory committee. Making motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Discussion?
Bylaw 0144, board member orientation training is not mandated, and item is policy 9140, citizens advisory. It's just what's.
Thank you for that. They were very minor.
No, I understand.
Okay.
Because you had said that they were all mandated, so.
Yeah, okay, I thought I had said except for, but yeah, good call, thank you. Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Khan?
Yes.
Ms. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Comforth?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes. Okay, now I get to jump over negotiations and buildings and grounds because we have no action items in those areas. So on to finance. I would like to move items 1 through 13 together. 1 is recommendation to accept the report of the board secretary to the administrator for March 2023. And 2 is a recommendation to accept the report of the treasurer for the months of February and March 2023. Item 3 is a recommendation to approve the report of transfers and the minimum expense transfer report for February and March 2023. Item 4 is a recommendation to approve for payment the attached schedule of audited bills dated April 25th, 2023. Item 5 is a recommendation to accept the adult education agency account, athletic account, cafeteria account, principal's petty cash account, scholarship account, and student activities reconciliations for February and March 2023. Item 6 is a resolution, be it resolved that the board approves and authorizes the execution of the following agreement between Learn Well and the High Point Regional High School to provide instructional and administrative support to High Point student 2400577, currently at CarePoint Health, Hoboken University Medical Center, as listed. Item 7 is a recommendation to approve the following transportation reimbursement agreements between High Point Regional High School and State of New Jersey dated November 10th, 2022 and March 10th, 2023. Item 8 is a recommendation to grant permission to the High Point football camp to host the non-affiliated co-ed 3rd through 8th grade camp as listed. Camp will be self-supporting and will charge $120 per participant. 9 is a recommendation to grant the board grant permission to the High Point wrestling camp to host the non-affiliated co-ed camp K through 8th grade as listed. Camp will be self-supporting, will charge $25 per participant. Item 10 is a recommendation to grant permission to the High Point Hoops Camp to host a non-affiliated co-ed camp 1st through 4th grade. As listed, camp will be self-supporting and charge $60 per participant. Item 11 is a recommendation to grant permission to the High Point Hoops Camp to host the non-affiliated co-ed camp 5th through 9th grade as listed. Camp will be self-supporting and charge $90 per participant. Item 12 is a recommendation that the board acknowledges and greatly accepts a donation of 4 LifeVac anti-choking devices from Mavericks Legacy, a nonprofit organization started by a family in our community. And And item 13 is a recommendation that the board approves a fundraising raffle for the boys and girls track teams to be held on April 28, 2023 at High Point High School. Funds will be used to purchase clothing items for members of the team. I'll make that motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or discussion?
Just to thank the Life Vac donation.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other comments? None? Roll call, please.
Make any note to send a thank you note. Mr. Comforth,
Yes.
Mr. Krause,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Ms. Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Dona,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes. Okay, item 14 is our budget. Okay, the first section I will not read in its entirety. It's related to travel and related expense reimbursements for 2023 to 2024. That's as listed. I will read the important portion related to the adoption of the budget for 2023-2024. Be it resolved, the budget be approved for the 2023-2024 school year using the 2023-2024 state aid figures and the secretary to the High Point Regional High School Board of Education be authorized to submit the following budget to the Executive County Superintendent of Schools. This was as Dr. Ripley presented earlier in the evening. Total expenditures in the general fund, $23,412,798. Less anticipated revenues of $5,868,628. So taxes to be raised, therefore, of $17,544,170. No debt service. So those numbers are in total. Actually, I read the general fund. The total column is $24,120,065 for total expenditures minus less anticipated revenues of $6,575,895, and leaving the same number of taxes to be raised, $17,544,170. So, be it resolved, the High Point Regional High School Board of Education approves the levy of general fund taxes for the 2023-2024 school budget to be $17,544,170. This budget addresses health and safety issues related to facility, capital spending, student-centered items, and program integrity. And to advertise said budget in the New Jersey Herald in accordance with the form suggested by the State Department of Education and according to law. I will make that motion for our budget. May I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or discussion on the budget?
I would personally like to mention that the amount of work that goes into the creation of a budget of this nature is significant. And Mr. Minkiewicz, Ms. Heller, Ms. Wenzel, and Ms. Noah put in a tremendous amount of time, effort, and professionalism to put forward a budget like this is due to their diligence and professionalism, and I want to thank them.
Normally, when it comes time to the budget vote, I make a statement, and I'd be remiss if I didn't tonight, that I think this is one of the most important votes that a board member gets to make during the course of their tenure on the board, is to vote on a budget. I, as a member of the Finance Committee, I can tell you a few things that I'm pleased with our current budget and the current situation, is that we were able to put forth a budget that was less than the 2% cap. In other words, less than a 2% increase over the previous year. We're capped by legislation. We were able to put forth one that only increased 1.75%. Some other things that are important. We have no debt. When I first came on the board, we were still paying off bonds or some debts. We were paying debt service. There was money being paid towards interest on debt, that once we pay that debt off, we have not incurred any other new debt, and therefore have saved money over the course of a number of years now by not having to pay debt service. It was only a few years ago when our maintenance reserve, I believe, was depleted to $0. We had no money in the maintenance reserve fund, and I'm not sure exactly what the total is now. I know the current budget was putting a number aside, and I'm proud to say that that has been replenished to a certain $357,000. I mean, there are limits to how much we can actually keep in some of these funds, but certainly it's never recommended to be at zero. And we are not there anymore, and unfortunately that's a comfortable place for us to be. In the same vein, the capital reserve had been depleted. The capital reserve is important in that we don't get to maintain the facility at the level that it deserves without accumulating some money over the course of a number of years and then using it sort of in one fell swoop for big projects that are coming up. We have been able to push off a number of much needed projects during the years of the state aid cuts and COVID. So there were some things that we knew needed to be done. Unfortunately, they haven't been so emergent that we had to go forward with them during the course of those years. Now we have a capital reserve that's built up to the point where we can actually use it, and I think the next couple of action items may speak to that in the finance agenda. Some other things. I'm pretty sure our business administrator will appreciate the fact that there's a predictability to some of our expenses in our budget now, because we have, as a board, been able to finalize contracts with the HPEA, the HPAA, the superintendent, and a send-receive relationship with Montague Township for their students. All of those things, because they have been tackled over the course of some previous years, provide some consistency, some predictability, being able to know what the future holds, at least in the short term. So just some things to put in perspective with regard to with our current budget going forward. So that's my speech. Anyone else?
I would just say that I think, having been on the board for a majority of the state aid cut period that's been referenced all night, I think it's, quite frankly, very impressive that, again, we did not have to make up those losses by laying off teachers, executing programs, or doing anything that would be a detriment to the student. Fortunately, some of our neighbors in the area, Vernon is coming to mind. I think Vernon's laying off more than 30 teachers. And I think that number's low. I think it's actually more. But in this entire 4 or 5 years, 6-year period, we haven't done that, and we found cuts in other ways and found ways to make sure that our students have not been affected. So I think that's something that we all should be very proud of, that continues on an ongoing basis through this tough financial period we've been in over the last couple of years.
So thank you, Superintendent Ripley and Administrator Meekins, for putting this budget in front of us. And with that, I will ask for a roll call.
Mr. Carrazza.
Yes.
Mr. Klein.
Yes.
Ms. Schuman.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Comforth.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes. Okay, I think I can group the remaining 2 items. Item 15 is a recommendation that the board approves the submission of required approvals from the New Jersey Department of Education for the following project. Replacement of 14 unit ventilators at the High Point Regional High School, and approves EI Associates, Architects and Engineers to implement the above project. The district is not seeking debt service aid, therefore the project should be considered other capital projects, and the district is anticipating state assistance through ROD grants for this project.
The state assistance is 40%, so if we get approved for this grant, they'll pay 40% of the project.
And the rest of that is as listed. I don't need to read the fine thing. And item 16 is a recommendation that the board approves the submission of required approvals from the New Jersey Department of Education for the following project: pavement resurfacing and site improvement repairs, and approves EI Associates, Architects and Engineers to implement the above project. Again, the district is not seeking debt service aid, therefore the project should be considered other capital projects, and the district is anticipating state assistance through ROD grants for this project also. Okay. I'll make the motion on 15 and 16.
Second,
Any discussion on those?
I'm just pleased that, you know, we've been able to put some money into the reserves so that we can make these, and that we're making the time to, and have the opportunity with the grants that we do these things and not get into debt, because there's still more projects to come.
And I believe Mr. Minkowitz got this grant for us through the fall workshop. You had some connections there, is that correct? Or is this? a
That's the
different
prior
grant?
one.
Okay.
That was, we approved a different grant a couple months ago that is going to put the rooftop units on.
Okay.
This is for classroom units that we hope to integrate air conditioning also with the new HVAC.
Mr. Minkowitz, however, does complete all the grants relevant to these two particular projects.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Khan?
Yes.
Ms. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Tadona?
Yes.
Mr. Comfort?
Yes.
Mr. Peraza?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes. No, I guess I have 17 and 18 left in finance. 17 is recommendation to approve the cost of transportation, $830 for the baseball team to attend the Florida Coast Spring Training Academy. And 18 is a recommendation the board approves the submission of the request for supplemental stabilization aid in the amount of $33,680, the acceptance of the funds, planned use of the funds, and how the district will fund the future operations. I'll make that motion on those two items. Have a second?
Second.
And any discussion on those?
That's the second one, number 18, the supplemental stabilization aid, 33,000. That's the 60% Dr. Rickwood was talking about. They took away 51,000 of state aid, and they said they're going to give back 60%. That's what this is. I submitted that on Friday, I believe, and they said we'll receive it this Friday.
So that's rather quick. I mean, this was one that was literally just came through the legislature like a month ago, right?
Yes.
Right, and they're reimbursing schools, they say on a weekly basis. So each Friday, if you had your submission in, you should receive that.
Excellent.
The other one, 17, was an oversight that wasn't accounted for in the traveling expenses. So I'm sure the board would agree that the $830 is more than worth it for the team too.
This information was brought to the athletic committee by the athletic director, Mr. Dexter. It was an oversight. The $830 was the cost for the team to take a bus to, I believe it was LaGuardia or JFK. Mr. Dexter, although despite us indicating it was not necessary, apologized for the oversight to the board. Again, there was no intent here to deceive anybody or anything of that nature. It was a clear oversight, and Mr. Dexter was very apologetic for it, but it would have been approved even if it wasn't an oversight. So I think, you know, I appreciated his honesty, but it was unnecessary. It was just an oversight, which happens.
The only cost to the board was the transportation.
I believe,
The whole-
correct. I believe this was the only cost that we had was the bus trip to the airport.
And this is a portion of the bus trip.
Correct.
Okay, if no other comments, I'll take roll call on those final finance items.
Ms. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Dona?
Yes.
Mr. Comfort?
Yes.
Mr. Peraza?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes. And I think the last set of action items under transportation, Mr. Ross.
Sure, I'd like to move items 1 through 5 together. Item 1 is the request to approve and authorize the quoted contracts for athletic trips as listed. Item 2 is also a recommendation to approve the quoted contract for athletic trips as listed. Item 3 is a request to approve contract addendum for additional mileage as listed. Item 4 is a request to approve and authorize a joint transportation agreement for the current school year as listed. Item 5 is a request to approve the joint transportation agreement for the current school year. Making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Comfort.
Yes.
Mr. Caraza.
Yes.
Mr. Khan.
Yes.
Ms. Schuman.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes. So that concludes our action items on the agenda. We have no correspondence, miscellaneous, just our standing item about school board mandated training. So that brings us to our second public comments section of the evening. Same rules apply. Please state your name and address. Comments can be made at the podium here in person, and I'm going to turn to Mr. Campbell, I think is pulling double duty on our virtual platform.
Does appear as if there are no comments at this time.
Okay, I'm not going to extend this. May I have a motion to close the public comments section?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, any non-committee board member reports or comments?
Well, just we were, I don't know, if you want to bring it up? Or you
Oh,
want
go ahead, yeah.
Yeah. That, you know, we all got those invitations for the scholarship night, and usually the board does give the for scholarships, so you'll send out an email, because I can't send an email.
Yeah, I will mention to everybody, typically, we take a collection for the scholarship. This has been done in the past, yeah, out of our own pockets. We have in the past provided a scholarship for $500 to a deserving student that was presented then at the scholarship award banquet.
And, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And last year, did you and I do it, Liz, or did somebody else do
We
it?
did.
Okay.
And then we also have to select the student, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
I did ask, I think it was Jim or some, so guidance is going to provide us with a short list of some deserving applicants. Our selection committee will do their work on it.
Okay.
Any other comments or reports from board members? See none? Other business, there's nothing in our Oprah table. So, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?